Welcome to the HTML tutorial series. My name is Ankit. Today we are going to discuss with HTML5 features. In previous tutorial, we have already discussed what is new in HTML5 and we have already covered attributes. In this tutorial series, I am going to cover input types in HTML5. Now what is input types? So as you know the syntax, if I say input type equals to in double quote will specify the type, which type of information that we want to accept from user, that will be the type. So in HTML there were few input types like text, password, radio, checkbox and so on. Now in HTML5 new input types added like email, date, time, URL, number, range, color, month and week, and also few are there. So what we need to do, whenever we'll use this input type, we need to specify inside the type. So let's begin with one by one all the input types. So I have created one form and I will arrange all the data in the table format. So here I will specify label and here say enter email ID. In next column I will just add input type email, name equals to email, close, and to ensure that user is entering proper email ID, we need to add input type submit as well. So we'll add that particular input type as well inside the next row. So we'll just add the row with column input type submit, value is suppose save. Let's save and check the output. Now if you check, we have enter email ID field and save button. If I only specify A, B, C and save, it will say please include @ in email address. That means what, it's going to check whether the email ID is in proper format or not. So if I say @gmail.com, it is going to submit my form, right? So that is what input type email. So input type email, check the validation for email. So if I want user should enter the proper email ID, we can use input type email. Okay, now let's start with next. So I'll copy the row. So you need to ensure that you will copy start tr to the close tr properly, paste it below. You can say suppose enter age. Now age should be a number only, so you can specify input type is number and I will change as age. Save the changes. So input type number, make sure that user only enters the number field. Now if you refresh your page, we have input type number. If you are going to add any alphabets, it is not going to add, since I am typing A, B, C, D, it is not going to accept. It only accepts the numbers. Okay, so this is the validation you can do for the number field. Next, we will work with, I'll just copy first the row, I'll paste it below. So we'll start with date. So enter date, or probably I will change the label as select date. Okay, input type is date and name I will say it as same date. Okay, now save the changes and refresh your page. If you check, you will get a calendar. So if you click on this, you will be having a calendar. You can select your date that will be assigned here. Okay, so that is advantage of using input type date. Now again, notice one thing, whatever the input types you are adding, email, number, date, all are in lowercase. Do not use capital or uppercase, it won't work. Okay, Now similarly, as a date, we have time as well as an input type. So I will copy the row, I will paste it below. Here I will say input type time, input type is also time. We'll change the value as time. Save the changes, refresh your browser. If you check, it will allows you to enter hours and minutes. Okay. Now again, if you click here, you will get the values. Okay. Suppose 2 o'clock, whatever the minutes is, either AM or PM. So anything value that you can assign to the time. So this is advantage of using input type time. Similarly, I will suggest you to work with input type month, input type week, and check the output what it will gives you the output. So I'll go with one option, that is URL. So I'll copy the row, paste it below, then select. Now I will change the label, enter URL. So this is basically when you are accepting any website URL from user, it should be a proper URL. So you can say input type is URL and make the name as URL. Okay. Again, one more thing to notice, your input type and name can be different. For us, for this particular demo, I am keeping the same. You can keep different as well. It is just a name for that particular field. Save the changes and we will open the browser. Now if I put a URL like this, only www.abc, if I click on save, it will say please enter the URL. Now if I say .com, again it will say please enter the URL. So what is required? So it requires https colon slash slash, this is the entire URL. Now if I say save, it is going to accept that URL. Okay, so when you want your end user should enter a proper URL of its website, you can keep this input type URL. Okay, now similarly I will add one more field here, that is input type range. So I will keep the label as select range, input type range. I will keep the name as RG. Save the changes. If you refresh your browser, you will get this range. Now if you check, this is the field. This is great. So most of the times you are seeing this particular range in e-commerce websites. So arrange or set your budget. So 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, 20,000, like this you can set your budget, right? So for this you can use what input type range. So that's it from the different input types in HTML5. In next tutorial series, we are going to start with new HTML tags added by HTML5 or HTML5 features. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe.